Hi, I'm Dea.
Hi, I'm Reece, and we are
literally dead. Exciting news, guys.
Very exciting.
28 years later is coming out, and I am like really, really happy about it.
Yeah, zombie fanatic over here.
I'm so happy whenever a zombie movie is coming out and I get to go and watch it in the cinema.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the ones I like, I missed. Like, I'm not like in my 70s, so I haven't gone to see like Dawn of the Dead in the cinema, and I was not old enough when Shaun of the Dead came out, and I was a freaking 15 when Train to Busan came out, so I couldn't see that.
Yeah.
I was 1 when this movie came out. 28 days later came out.
Now you soak up any opportunity to see a mainstream zombie in cinema.
Yeah.
How many zombies have you seen in cinema?
In cinema? I don't think I've seen any of them in cinema. Although I used to go to the Horror Society at uni, and I watched Return of the Living Dead on like a big screen.
Okay, but not a cinema screen.
No, I don't think I have.
Oh my god, this will be your first time.
It's gonna be
That is
fun.
so exciting.
I'm so excited.
I'm also excited. It looks very good.
The trailer
I'm curious
looks
where
really
they'll go
good.
with it though.
I like the fact that they're using religious angle, and I also like the fact that, so I follow a lot of like zombie YouTube channels and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But some people, like in comments especially, are so obsessed with the specific definition of zombies, and are they Romero zombies? Are they like the original Haitian zombie? Are they just infected? You know, that kind of bullshit, right? But they all come under the same umbrella. You're either a zombie or you're zombie adjacent, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you feels like a zombie, it basically is. And I think that 28 Days Later is one of those movies where people are like, oh no, they're not zombies, they're just infected. But then they are zombies. They're totally zombies.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And so in this
It's just the type that they are.
literally. And in this trailer, we see like they're literally rotting. Like they have to be infected now, right? Are you excited for the new 28 Years Later movie? I am.
I think it's so good too. I think it was a good amount of time between the films too to jump to years. I think it's really good. I think it's exciting.
Definitely.
Do you think we'll get 28 decades?
Probably not in this lifetime.
Not in ours. I could see it happening though. 100 years from now.
They're like remaking it again.
Yeah, some ancestor of some CEO and billionaire now.
Oh, hopefully they would have gotten rid of all the billionaires by then.
And it's like made by AI.
I'm glad I won't be alive to see that.
Thank Jesus.
Subscribe if you're excited to see 28 Years Later. And if you're listening to this instead, follow our podcast, rate our podcast, like the video, because I'm so excited to talk about this movie. The original. Today we're doing the original 28 Days Later. But if you've not seen it, egg on your face, you should go watch it. Right now.
Definitely, please.
Do you want to know how we watched it?
How do we watch it?
We watched it on a DVD I have, right? And so if you're on the video, you can see it. Let me hold it up now. It is like the most B-Tech like box art you've ever seen in your life. It's got the 2 like original posters for 28 Days and 28 Weeks on like the bottom of it. It like has 1 disc. No inserts came with this because I bought this from a shop, right? I didn't buy this like online or eBay or anything like that. Not CEX. I think I bought this in HMV, and it was like 1 disc, and it has no ads on it.
No.
It has specifically only 2 menus, but they're just black and with text on it.
Yeah, white like standard text as well.
Fucking probably Calibri font. Right? And it's just English or Dutch, right? And then you click on English, and then it's just pick the movie. 28 days or 28 weeks. And there's no ads or nothing in between.
And it's just black screen, white text.
Yeah. There's no subtitle settings or anything.
No.
It's just like...
It even struggles to rewind or forward.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the movie's playing now.
The movie's
See you at the end.
God forbid you pause it. But I love this DVD box so much. It's convenient too because you have both movies on 1 disc. But if you wanted special features, you're not finding it here.
No.
I don't know who released this. It says Fox on the box, but I can't tell if that's the release who made this DVD.
Well, we thought it was original.
Yeah.
But
you said that you thought it was like a fucking homemade DVD.
I
Someone sold me.
In like a charity shop.
Yeah. Oh.
People make those.
Do you know what? If you make homemade DVDs, like, sell me them, you know?
Yeah.
They'd probably be better than this shit. But if you've not seen the original 28 Days Later, go watch it. And I'll give you a little spoiler-free thing so you get, like, a taste. But you should go and watch it and then come back to us because it's a classic for a reason. Not just a zombie classic, but, like, a horror classic, a British cinema classic.
Oh, yeah.
And it did a lot for digital filmmaking as well. So you should go and watch it. 28 days after a deadly virus breaches containment, a group of survivors must try and survive as the bloodthirsty infected roam the streets of London. There you go.
That sounds good. I'm very excited for 28 years. And so we are doing both 28 days and 28 weeks in excitement and leading up to 28 years release.
Yes.
It should be pretty well timed. So by the time you finish both of our episodes, you'll be ready to head to the cinema and go watch 28 years.
And watch it in a cinema. Regardless of the quality of any movie, just being in the cinema is I think one of the best ways to watch a film ever. It's the ultimate way to watch it. When there's a new good looking horror project that's coming out, we should be out there supporting it so that we get less Disney Marvel crap and more this, you know?
Agreed. Go support your cinemas, your movie theaters, please. But today is 28 Days.
Yes.
A classic from
Danny Boyle, 2002, starring, what's his face? Cillian Murphy.
Yes, surprisingly so. A lot of people don't know that he was in this.
I mean...
Or that he was naked in this.
But we don't start with Cillian Murphy, no. We start with a chimp is strapped to a table, forced to watch basically like scenes of war and violence on like loads of monitors.
Like CCTV type stuff.
News reports, that kind of shit.
And the chimpanzee is like wired to the table with like tubes and medical stuff.
And there's other chimps around them, like in boxes, in other things.
Yeah.
And these activists, they break in, right? And they're like looking around, they're going, oh my god, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, these chimps look like they're being abused.
Yeah.
There's like dissected chimps.
Yeah.
Chimps with like weird implants, etc.
And then they're going through all of these like things and they're going, oh my god, we have to get them out, you know, we have to free them because they're like animal rights activists. And then a scientist comes in and he tries to call for security, but they stop him.
Yeah, they rip the security phone out the wall.
Yeah. And he's like, they're infected, you can't can't let them out, they are infected.
You don't know what you're doing, it's in their blood.
And then they're like, what's in the blood, what is it? And he says rage, which is, I'm assuming, the name of the virus they were like creating.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean, like, rage? Like, that's so dumb. And then he's like, you can't release them. You need to not do this. And they release it. And what happens? They get eaten. They get fucking attacked.
Absolutely slipped up. Well, the girl gets eaten first, which is quite funny because they open up thinking that they're absolute heroes. And then immediately she's like, get this fucking thing on my face.
Get off me.
Kill it.
And then the virus infects her and she's like, I'm burning. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She turns around and she has those glowing yellow, reddish eyes. And that's our first introduction to an infected, aka zombie.
And then there's a little title, so 28 days later, and we're introduced to Cillian Murphy.
Who is laying naked in a hospital bed.
Yeah.
Surrounded by medical equipment and tubed up to machines. Very similar to how the ape was. Very like parallel shot.
Definitely. And you might be thinking, oh, this sounds a little familiar, like, you know, I mean, a person wakes up in the zombie apocalypse and blah, blah, blah. That's because The Walking Dead did it afterwards. In the graphic novels, they did it in 2003. When the TV show came out in, is it 2010? It looks like 28 days later when they shot that scene of Rick waking up and walking through the city.
Yeah.
But Cillian Murphy wakes up, he's calling for help, he's looking around.
Puts on a nurse outfit. Tries to use a phone, doesn't work.
Yeah, he drinks a Pepsi.
I think there's a Pepsi sponsorship or something, because what's happening?
Yeah, no, because they have a few. They're like, oh, do you have Pepsi, do you have Tango, do you have Lil? I think at one point someone mentions like Terry's Chocolate Orange by name, and you're just like, okay, you got a sponsorship.
There was an Iron Brew at one point.
There was an Iron Brew. Best soft drink. Sponsor me.
It is pretty good.
Sponsor me. It's very tense as well because obviously you can tell something's happened, right? There's like medical equipment everywhere. The vending machines are open. Like there's nobody anywhere. All the phones are like hanging off the hooks because this was in 2002 when phones still had wires.
I mean, everything seemed so rushed and it's almost like movement throughout everything. And I think because there's so many open and broken windows and doors, there's so much wind going through the building.
Yeah.
And everything seems like it's still moving from the last time someone was there, as if everyone had just rushed out the building, which I think already creates a sense of whatever's happened here wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, because it's 28 days later.
Exactly, even the phones that like are hanging from the machines are swinging in a way as if like the person using it had just like dropped it and ran literally moments ago, which obviously isn't necessarily true, but like everything feels like that, and I think it's done so well. And you get these beautiful shots which I think are quite rare to see, such pedestrian places so abandoned, like
so
specifically
empty.
talking about the hospital. Like it's crazy, and even for the time, but especially now, I think even still it's like so alarming and it just really unnerving.
Oh, definitely. And you can see it in like other horror and zombie movies. Like, do you know what I mean, emulated all the time when it's an empty city, when there's a shot of a bridge or certain things. This movie is like very much influenced them, but it also influenced like the way digital film was seen, because at the time it came out in 2002 and digital cameras weren't really used to make films back then as much as they are now. And I guess the choice to use digital here, like, the fact that it is not of highest quality, like, you should not be watching this movie in fucking 4K. You should be watching it, like, on a grimy DVD like we did. Like, because it's, like, because they've chosen to do this, it makes it feel, in a way, you know, just like The City. And I just think it's really...
It also just adds... one thing I just love about British film, especially of the late 90s and early 2000s, is it's so grungy.
Yeah.
It's so grungy. And this is not even just horror, but so many films, from like comedies to like some of the political stuff, to even like, you know, the skinhead films and stuff, they all have this particular type of grunge that is so British, and I think is such a distinctive British film language.
Yeah, it's a feeling.
This is using it in horror in a way that is effective to horror.
Yeah, I kind of miss it, because a lot of, like, I know movies now and the technology is very crisp and clean, and it works well and works great in certain films, like The Substance and stuff like that. But there is an element of that's been kind of lost when you abandon all this old tech, and when you make films with the highest definition, and it's always shot like everything is symmetrical and things are always centered and stuff like that, and it looks aesthetically pleasing and stuff, but sometimes it's too aesthetic, you know?
I agree, but it's done really well.
Yeah, this is done great.
You know, talking about the visuals, he leaves the hospital and he goes out into the streets, and this is obviously, as most of you probably know, whether you've seen the film or not, where you get the iconic shots of him walking through the streets of London that are completely abandoned.
Iconic landmarks and stuff like that, and there's just trash everywhere. There's piles of money.
I mean, these shots in this film are so famous because it was like such a big feat to get this done. It's really what sells the entire thing to you, is seeing those busiest streets in the country be the emptiest streets, you know? It's
iconic. It's really, the opening to this film is, I think, like, if you do film studies and you're listening to this and you haven't seen, like, at least the opening to this film, you should watch this and, like, look at how you can make your own films. And the sound is also done really well here. Every time he calls out hello, or he, like, walks into something and makes a loud noise or drops something, you think, who's hearing this?
Yeah.
Who's nearby? Because you can't hear the infected. Where are they? What are they doing? Why is he allowed to walk around in the city? And
maybe you don't even realize that this is infected.
Yeah.
One thing I love is the shots, these, like, you know, wide shots of him exploring are taken from such, like, unusual angles, and yet none of the angles make me think that somebody's watching him, which I like, because I feel like it's so easy to accidentally fall into creating the vibe that the camera itself is a person or is a viewer who is watching him from a distance, stalking, etc. But it doesn't feel like that to me.
No.
Which I like, because it kept me abandoned. And if I'm watching this for the first time, I mean, it's, you know, pretty difficult to go into a zombie film without knowing it's a zombie film.
Yeah.
But I don't know yet what the scenario is. I don't know yet if there are any creatures or anything that could be watching him here. I truly do believe that he's the only man on Earth. It's just done well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this film was also really, like, it was one of the biggest, like, first films that had the fast zombies in them. Before, so if you don't know anything about zombie movies, the history of zombie movies goes from, like, so pre-film, I guess, zombies come from Haitian, like, folklore and stuff.
They're more so mindless slaves.
They are. So, like, a shaman would, like, resurrect you, and you'd essentially be a slave and be, like, bound to their whims. And all the movies before this, I think White Zombie is the biggest one I can think of at the minute, because I haven't watched many pre-Romero zombie movies. A lot of, like, pre-Romero zombie movies are about this concept. Usually it's, like, pretty racist in terms of American film. A white woman will be, like, enslaved by, like, you know what I mean, an island mystic, and the white guy has to go and save her and stuff like that, right? But then in the 50s or 60s that Romero came out? Well, you know Night of the Living Dead?
Yeah.
When Night of the Living Dead came out, that changed everything. He didn't call them zombies. People called them that afterwards. And his Dead trilogy is what created the modern zombie. The shambling, mindless, you know, the infection is transferred by a bite, and other things add on to that, right? So other filmmakers will interpret the original Romero zombie, and then that's where you have things like, oh, they need to eat brains, or you can only kill them if you hit them in the head, oh, they're different things. Then they kind of offshoot and they branch into different things, right? You have, like, the cursed zombies like we did in Dead Snow, or animal zombies like we did in Black Sheep, right? But they all come back to the Romero zombie. And this is, like, a different kind of thing. Like, Danny Boyle created a faster, more hungry, more vicious zombie, because before they were all shambling, very much, you know, related to the Romero zombie that they had before. And I think that was really, like, another, like, thing you should think about when you watch this movie.
What kind of zombie do you prefer? Like the slower, sluggish type, or the fast one? I will say, let me answer my own question, but I always preferred the faster ones, because I think that the idea that the zombie, the whole point is that it's detached from intelligence, usually, and it's just attached to its primal instincts, which is just to eat and survive. And I think that makes more sense to me if they're much more active, because I don't understand why having nothing but your primal desires makes you sluggish and slow. That's my personal opinion.
I mean, that's fair enough.
Do you prefer sluggish and slow?
I think that it really depends on the quality of the movie, if I'm being honest. In terms of, like, if I'm picking, a lot of my favourite zombie movies have the fast zombies in them. And so then I'd probably say that as well. But less because of the, like, you know what I mean, primal desires reason, and more because I like an intense movie. I think there's something, I've already explained why I love zombie movies in the other video, but something I like about the concept of someone who's risen from the dead and can't think for themselves anymore is seeing normal, everyday people reduced to nothing. And I think that's terrifying.
Well, there you go. There's some information for you.
I love zombies. I think they're great.
You know what I love?
What?
An empty London. Because I was watching those scenes jealous. London, you know, it's our home. And I find it absolutely beautiful, but I would just love to get to just experience it with, like, the most minimal people possible. No one would be great, just me. Imagine how easy it'd be for you. You wouldn't bump into anyone.
Oh my god, that'd be great. Imagine going to Oxford Street and you can actually cross the road without some tourist standing right where you need to be.
Or standing in the middle of the walkway on their phone.
Oh my god. If you're in London and you're going to need to be on your phone to navigate or whatever, swoop to the side.
Yeah, lean against the wall.
Also, that would help your phone not get stolen as easily.
I'm not gonna lie. I would unleash a zombie virus to reduce train time. We are so stuck on this opening sequence.
Sorry, it's a great opening sequence.
It's so good. We'll probably not talk about the rest of the film.
No. Bye.
Thank you for watching. No, we're not going anywhere. Don't go. There's more film. So yeah, he's exploring through London and he comes across a church.
Yes.
He enters this abandoned church. He goes up the stairway. There's graffiti everywhere. You can tell that things have been neglected. There's a huge, written, sentence on the wall that says,
"The end is extremely fucking nigh.
Repent."
It's like the use of the, like, expletive here is also really good because it's like it kind of gives a bit of levity in it. I like it. There's parts in this movie where they're like joy and humour and you know what I mean, even dark humour, and you think it kind of balances it out. You can't have a film like this and it be completely, like, distraught and hopeless the entire time because you're not going to be emotionally engaged by the end.
Yeah. Also, like, I think it's the best horror films understand that in horrific situations, people aren't just filled with nothing but terror.
Yeah.
There is laughter. You know, that is a response to fear.
Definitely.
And I think that gets communicated well through horror when there's something that's a little, not necessarily lighthearted, but that could be fun comedic or breaking the tension of fear.
And he goes up the stairs and he sees, like, loads of dead bodies.
Yeah, littered in the church. He's up on the balcony.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just seems like some sort of, like, massacre or, like, sort of like a cult packed suicide.
Or maybe there was an infected in the church and everyone was sheltering in there and just got fucking destroyed.
He finds it very unusual, but he does see all these people, so he shouts, hello.
Hello?
And as soon as he does,
someone perks up.
About 2, or 3 heads.
Yeah.
I think 2 or 3 perk up from the crowd of dead bodies.
Yeah.
It's so unnerving. I absolutely love this shot.
Yeah.
Especially because the faces, especially on, like, the grungier camera, the faces are kind of hard to make out. It's almost uncanny valley.
Yeah.
And they're pale and they seem like something's wrong, but you are not close enough to figure out what it is. Obviously, we know by now from the context of the opening sequence that they're zombies and that they probably got disfigured eyes and faces.
Yeah.
But these heads flick up from a pile of what you presumed were dead bodies, and their mouths are agape.
Yeah.
And they stare dead-eyed at him for a few seconds in a way that is just skin-crawled.
Skin-crawling. And then you hear them.
Yeah.
You hear them climbing up the steps before anything else happens. And it's really unnerving because obviously Cillian Murphy doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
He's just a little guy.
He's like looking for a friend.
Yeah. And then a priest bursts in, an infected priest, and he goes, "Father, what's going on? Father, like, what's wrong with you? Can I help you?" You know? And the priest, he keeps coming forward.
Making unusual noises, swinging his arms.
Cillian Murphy has a bag of, like, cans he got from vending machine in the hospital and also money he picked up on the way.
That he thought would be useful. I mean, if I woke up and I saw a bunch of cash everywhere, I'd pick it up.
Yeah. And then he kind of hits him with the bag of stuff. And he's like, "I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done that. And he runs out of the church.
Yeah, and the zombies chase him.
Chase
him out of the church into the streets.
Yeah, it's not just the priest, it's the other ones that perked up as well.
Yeah, and the sun has, like, set now. It's pretty much night.
And he's running. And then suddenly you see, like, lights running alongside him.
Yeah.
And it's people. It's 2 people. And they're throwing Molotov cocktails at the zombies. It's intense. And they drag him along and they take him...
into, like, a shop. And they close, like, the shutters.
The shutters, yeah. And they're still wearing their masks. And one of them makes a joke about a giraffe.
Yeah, a really long one.
Yeah.
Well, not a very funny one.
I
You laughed.
Yeah, because I have bad humour. What do you want?
But he takes his mask off as he tells the joke,
Yeah.
and he turns around to the other person there, who takes her mask off, and we find out is a woman.
Yeah.
Named Selena.
Mhm.
And he says,
His name is Mark.
Oh yeah, Mark. And
Mark and Selena.
he says that this one has no humor, just like you.
You'll get along fine then. Yeah. And we find out Cillian Murphy's name is actually Jim.
Yeah.
So we'll call him Jim from now on.
Jim. Jim is the guy who woke up in the hospital.
Yep.
Jim. Selena is the woman. She's kind of a badass, but you'll see that.
Such a badass. And Mark is the like light-hearted guy.
Yeah.
And they kind of fill him in on what's been happening. They say, look, the world is gone. Like, first it was just us, and then we stopped hearing broadcasts from New York and Paris and everywhere else.
Yeah.
There's chaos everywhere. There's no government. There's no police. You're like, we're on our own, essentially. And then he asks to see his parents, and they say they're dead.
Yeah. He says, but they live in so-and-so. They're probably fine.
Deptford.
Yeah, but they...
Yeah.
And they said, no, he's dead. And he says he's going to go. And they say, no, you can't go out now.
You can't go out at night. You have to only travel during the day.
In fact, they said there's 2 lessons. Lesson 1, don't go alone. And lesson 2, only go in daylight.
Yeah. They're very nice because they say, we'll take you tomorrow. We'll take you tomorrow.
And they do. They head to bed. They live off basically like chocolate and sweets. And the next morning, they go walking on the train tracks.
I will say, oh yeah, that's a great shot as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say the thing is throughout this movie, they're like constantly living off of junk food. And then when they do find canned food, they love it because it's actual nutrients. But it's important to note, like, if a world-ending disaster happens, stuff like that, like the carbonated drinks that are sealed in cans, or, you know what I mean, plastic wrapped stuff that goes off in like 2 years or some shit, that's probably what you're going to be wanting to find.
Yeah.
Because if you need sugar rush to run from multiple places, it's easy, it's convenient, it won't go off for a while.
But you can still get like canned protein that can last years as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, I think it was a lot harder back then because there was a lot less like fitness food that was that, you know what I mean? Nowadays, I can literally go and get like a protein shake as my Tesco meal deal, you know?
Honestly, they'd be so much better off if it happened now.
Yeah.
Because you could get Huels. You could just stack up on Huels.
Fucking hell, yeah.
Could you imagine?
You got Monster Energy over there, and then someone's got like a fucking one of those frozen like coffees or some shit, and they're like, yeah, go down. Because you can also get infected by like saliva, blood, anything going into any orifice, right? Any liquid from these zombies. But you know what would also be great if the zombie apocalypse happened now? Everyone has masks.
Oh, everyone has face masks, yeah.
Yeah, everyone has face masks. Everyone has PPE. All of the NHS workers, they'd be out there with those, you know, those guards, the like plastic ones.
Yeah.
They go over the faces. They're not getting infected.
I'll be out there with my hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna infect me.
Yeah, what's it called? Social distancing.
I'm gonna be sneezing in my elbow and everything. So they head off to his parents' house.
Yeah, and the next day.
Again, great shot of them walking on the train tracks. More so abandoned footage. Looks absolutely great. I will say, we get a better look at them. They look very cool. They remind me of almost like Matrix characters.
Yeah.
They're wearing like long cloaks, like leather cloaks.
Yeah. Was it Selena? She's wearing like a leather trench coat throughout most of this movie. She looks badass.
She does, and she's got like badass like early 2000s hair.
They go through Jim's house and they find his parents, and they this scene is really, I think the way they wrote it was very like beautiful in my way, like grief to describe like death and grief and stuff. Because he finds his parents' body
in bed together,
and they're holding a picture of Jim as a child, and he takes the picture and he covers them up, and then he reads on the back of the picture they wrote, with endless love we left you sleeping and now we sleep with you, because obviously they died when he was in a coma.
Yeah, they next to the bed beside them you can see piles of pills that they've obviously taken to kill themselves,
and then they said don't wake up.
Yeah. And
it's like the hope in these parents that their son won't have to suffer, and that they will be with him again, only for him to actually have woken up and to have found them like that is really like, wow, you know? Yeah,
it is really heartbreaking. But also the fact that they wrote that letter probably with some inkling that there's a possibility that he might come across it
and find it. Yeah, they do address it to him. Yeah.
I could just imagine like how scared they were, and they were like, yeah, we're not going to survive this, let's just take ourselves out.
Yeah.
And their son is still asleep. They never got to say goodbye to him.
Yeah.
That was their goodbye. I think I like that they thought of him.
Yeah, it's really It's sweet. It's sad, but it's sweet. They have a discussion about grief as well, actually, because Mark says you should be grateful, and Mark and Selena say you should be grateful because your parents died peacefully, and then Mark describes how he had to survive, and he was at the train station with his parents and sister, and essentially an infected got in, and they were stuffed into this short space and nobody could run anywhere.
And the crowd was slowly getting more and more affected.
And he had to climb onto people and over people to be on top of a kiosk, and he could see his dad's face infected and angry and disgusting, you know?
Yeah.
And you think, wow.
And he lost his sister.
Yeah, he lost his sister as well. So they stay the night at Jim's.
Yes, they decide because the sun's gone down.
Yeah.
And they say that we should all sleep in the same room because it's safer. But Jim gets up in the middle of the night and he decides to explore his home. He obviously can't sleep because everything he's been through. He lights a candle. He goes around his kitchen, and then he starts sort of like imagining what it would have been like if he had been returning to his parents in a non-infected world. And it's a very sweet memory, and this is like the brightest I feel like anything gets in the film. It's like orange and green, and it looks like this happy memory.
Oh, color wise.
Yeah,
I was gonna say
yeah, it's like really bright. And he's like distracted by this, and then we see a shot from outside of the house, and we hear sort of like pitter-pattering of feet and like heavy breathing, and we see a shot of the kitchen window and an orange light coming from the candle that he's holding. Obviously it's alerting whatever's outside that there's something inside. And then cut back into the kitchen, a zombie smashes through the kitchen window. He starts screaming. Immediately, another zombie falls through the kitchen skylight on top of Jim.
How did he get there?
He's getting double teamed on the floor. And then Mark runs in, obviously hearing him screaming, pulls one of the zombies off of him, throws it onto the kitchen table, starts beating that one up. And then Selena runs in and helps Jim with the one that he's dealing with. She slaughters that thing, basically.
In the scuffle, so they kill both of them, and then Mark looks up at Selena and he has this look in his face, and then Selena's like, oh, you've been infected? And then she fucking destroys him.
Well, you see he has, essentially, before he looks up at her, he has a huge gash in his arm. That's like bleeding, but obviously that means that like the zombie blood has gotten into his huge open wound. And so they realize like he's infected. Which is really sad.
She destroys him.
Oh yeah.
And he's like screaming.
She kills him with a machete, and like he puts his arm up like crying, and she basically chops his arm off first, and then like lays into him. So
then she's like, we have to go now because all the infected are going to come back. You need to go up, get dressed, and go, because we need to go. And then, so they leave the house, and so he's like, why the fuck did you, like, do that? Like, wasn't that, like, too, like, harsh or brutal?
Yeah, like, wasn't he your friend? And she said...
You have 10 to 20 seconds before they turn. It's very quick in this movie. Some movies are really inconsistent with their zombie turning. Have you noticed that? But
like,
this
movie to movie, or you mean, like, in its own movie?
In its own movie.
Well, see, but I always like that because I think it's usually some kind of infection. And... it's going to affect different people differently. In fact, I love like when a film will take it that some people just die from the virus because their body like reacts differently. Because everyone reacts differently. Like not everyone died from complications with COVID, you know?
Yeah. But this movie is very consistent. He's like, no, in 10 to 20 seconds, which is interesting. Sorry, 10 to 20 seconds, you will turn, right? It's interesting because it's a man-made, like, I think it's a military virus, essentially. Like, they were making it to use as a weapon, right? So it makes sense that is so consistent, you know?
Yeah. Also, she does tell Jim that if it was him, that she'd do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, she does.
She'd kill him.
And she also says plans are pointless. Surviving is the best you're going to get.
Yeah, which is harsh, but true.
Well, she changes her mind later, but yeah. Then they see blinking lights in a like tower block.
Yeah, like Christmas lights that clearly look like someone's trying to send a sign.
Yeah.
So Jim points it out. They decide they're going to go.
Yeah. They have to climb over like shopping trolleys to get in because someone's blocked it off
in like the lobby of like this like tower block,
which is smart.
Really smart. It's difficult for them. It would be even more difficult for zombies.
Yeah, and then they have to climb up an is it an elevator shaft or is it loads of stairs?
It's loads of stairs. There's so many stairs. And Jim starts to crash. And as Selena says, like, you know, he's got like no muscle mass because he's been in a coma for 30 days. And he's only had sugar because that's all they've been able to eat. And she's like, you need another sugar spike. Do you want Pepsi or Lilt?
And he's like, do you have a Tango? And she's like, oh, you know what?
I think I do have a Tango in here.
I think I might have a can in it somewhere. And then as they're trying to do this, infected had followed them in.
Yeah.
And they're climbing up.
And because they moved the trolleys, it's much easier for the infected to get up.
And so they're being chased up the stairs. And Jim is like, please, Selena, wait for me.
And Selena's like, fuck you, survival is the only thing. Which annoyed me so much because... What is her waiting for him going to make a difference? I was going to say he's so pussy.
In this point of the movie, yes.
Yes, which I think is important because he does evolve and change.
He does evolve and change.
It's so important to like see how vulnerable and weak he is right now.
Definitely. They climb up, and then this guy in like full riot gear lets them into the hallway, and he says, "This is the door number, right?" And he's like, Jim menacingly to get in, and they're like banging on the door, and the kid's like, "Where's Dad? Where's Dad?
Let us in, you stupid bitch! Where's Dad?
Where's Dad?
Let us in! Where's Dad?"
And then he says something like a code or something.
He says like, "Don't worry, let them in," or whatever.
Yeah. And then so finally she lets them in, and then he comes in after her.
And there's like a metal gate on their door and everything.
Yeah. I'm just thinking...
They had a cute flat, by the way. So they get into the flat. I thought it was really cute. There was like a lot of warm mid-lighting. The Christmas lights, obviously, that was...
Very homely.
Not only on their balcony, but in their house. Super homely. I thought it was cute.
They have mint-flavoured wine. Because
Or like vermouth. Mind you, he takes off his riot gear. And he's just like... I think that sounds right. But he takes off his riot gear and he's just like a normal like dad.
Yeah.
It's very cute, and he's there with his daughter, obviously.
Yeah. So his name is Frank and his daughter's name is Hannah. And they've been living there for a while. And
they get out the green...
The green mint wine. As I say, it's a celebration. We found people. And all of their doors in their houses have windows in them, which is weird.
You know those like fuzzy, like clouded windows?
You know in like a classroom, they have those windows in them?
Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah.
Like a bathroom window, but on
every
doors.
room in the house. And I'm like, do you want that in your bedroom?
Yeah, it was on the bedroom, it was on the bathroom, it was on like the living room, it was on their front door.
Yeah.
So weird. But it led to some like cool shots, but it was really weird.
Yeah, really weird. Jim has a shave and he cuts his hair.
Yeah. He has to dry shave because he finds out there's no water in the
apartment. The dad's like, oh yeah, you can't even go to the toilet because like it doesn't flush.
You got to use the bucket.
You got to use the bucket.
We throw it off the balcony every
morning.
Yeah, which is funny, but like valid.
Yeah, they go to bed, and in the morning, Frank kind of teaches them how they've been living there, right? So he takes them up to the water system, which is like rain catching, because he said all the tanks in the flats were like great, but they didn't last as long as you think.
Yeah, and he has like 100 buckets on the roof of the building trying to catch rain, but it hadn't rained for 10 days.
It hadn't rained for 10 days, and he said, you wouldn't think you'd need rain, not in fucking England. So good.
Do you think the lack of rain had anything to do with the virus?
No, because it can't affect a cloud, can it?
No, okay. Yes, okay, I didn't expect the virus infected the cloud. I meant the lack of people and human beings doing things. Do you think that affected the rain? Because the rain obviously is just like a collection of moisture in the air. But if there's no humans doing anything, using power, adding moisture to the air, do you think that like dramatically reduces?
I guess. I mean, maybe...
Also, like, the implications of the weather.
Maybe it's just in the summer, because sometimes, you know... I know England is a rainy island, but there are times where it doesn't rain for, like, a month, you know? In the summer.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, 10 days without rain isn't that crazy in this country.
No, it's not.
As much as we like to shit on the weather.
But it's like, you know what I mean? You need the rain when you need the water, right? So you can't... So 10 days feels like a lot longer when you need to survive off of the rain. They all have this discussion. He says, we can't stay here. We heard your discussion last night. We do need you more than you need us.
Yeah. The discussion last night was essentially Selena saying that the dad and daughter were dead weight and you leave dead weight behind.
And so they say, look, let me show you something. And then Selena's like, well, there's no broadcast. And then
he's got a little hand-powered radio.
Hand-powered radio. And it says, it's a message from a military base saying, we have the cure to infection. Come find us. We are 27 miles north of Manchester. Which, if you don't know, the UK is... So you've got London, which is in the south of England, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then Manchester is it's northeast, isn't it?
Yeah.
Northeast of
towards
London.
the middle of the country.
Yeah.
Mind you, it's usually like a 4-hour drive, I think.
I guess.
So, but there's no cars on the road.
There's no cars on the road. He said it will take us about 2 days to get there. And we need to go.
3 days.
Was it 2 or 3?
3.
Okay.
Which shocks me, but I get it because you can't drive at night and there's a lot of blockades on a lot of the roads, like military ones.
Yeah.
And like car pileups, etc.
Yeah.
They agree to go anyway because they realize like they essentially live anywhere anyway. What's the difference of doing it on the road?
Yeah.
And mainly the father said that he'd been wanting to go for ages, but he didn't want to leave because it would just be him and his daughter. And if anything happened to him,
then his daughter would be on her own.
But if they go with other people, there'd be someone to protect her.
Yeah. And the daughter does say something too. She says, you're wrong, you know. You need us just as much as we need each other.
Yeah.
which is important for humanity. I feel like, especially nowadays, people are like, what can this person provide me? What can this person do for me? But people need people.
I think that's one of the biggest lessons you get from zombie films as well. It's not just that you need food, that you need, etc. So many zombie films bank on this idea that you like are craving community. Like,
you're craving community, you're craving family, you're craving love.
The horror ones, even like at Zombieland, it's the same. Like, these people like find ways to survive. They have, they live in a mall. They've got endless supplies that could last them years, and yet they'll still go out if it means finding more people. That's
not Zombieland.
That does happen in Zombieland.
They don't live in a mall.
No, I never said that they lived in the mall.
When did they go to the mall in Zombieland?
They go in the second one. Yes, that's when they find the preppy girl. That's like a.
No, they find her on the road because she has an ice cream van.
No, she finds her own ice cream van after they leave her in the woods.
Oh.
And he pretends to kill her. And then she pulls up beside them in the ice cream van, and they're like, "You didn't kill her?"
Yeah.
Anyway, the mall was irrelevant. I was just saying.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
In zombie films of any time, anywhere,
yeah,
we have witnessed. This even happens in that one Netflix show. It's called Freak.
Daybreak. It was Daybreak.
It was Daybreak. You know what?
Okay.
Anyway, the point is that even in films and shows where they have like find places where they have unlimited supplies, etc., you still will find characters who will go out and search for community.
Absolutely.
Or risk going to that like one notice or that radio transmission that said that there might be people, because that is something that humans crave and would rather have, even if they have all the supplies and survival on their own.
You see it in Dawn of the Dead and its remake, even though the remake is inferior. You see it in #Alive, which I think handles isolation really well, and also in this French zombie movie that you should find if you can, called The Night Eats the World, which handles isolation and the apocalypse very well. So they decide to go. Turns out Frank is a cabbie, and so they get in his cab and they go for a little drive, and they reach the Blackpool Tunnel.
Yeah.
And Jim says, let's take the indirect route. Let's not go into this dark, scary tunnel.
Yeah, let's just go overground and add maybe an hour.
Yeah.
But no, he says, let's go through.
Let's go through. Frank is the one driving, so he gets the bit.
So they drive through, and immediately...
There's a blockade.
There's a car pile up that's obviously happened. And Jim is like, oh, see? I told you. And then, what's his name? The dad? Frank, the dad, basically does what dads do, and he says, no, I was right.
And he fucking drives over it, and they're all having fun.
Drives over a car pile up.
They're all having a great time, having fun. They're going, woo!
They're screaming, but also kind of cheering.
Yeah. And then they get over the car pile up, and they have a flat fucking tyre.
Yeah.
And you know what they need to do now? They need to change the tyre in the dark, in a tunnel in the zombie apocalypse. And it is the most intense car tyre changing scene I think I've ever seen.
The daughter goes under the car.
Yeah.
She gets like, the jack up or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they hear a bunch of footsteps or like scattering coming towards them. They get terrified.
And there's rats.
Thousands of them.
Yeah.
They start crawling over her. They pick her up. She's screaming, but they think they're fine. But then...
They say, she's running from the infected. Selena says they're running from the infected.
Yes, and she notices them.
Yeah.
That wasn't me telling you. That was me asking.
Yeah.
That was her
name.
No,
don't worry.
I keep getting her name completely right, but just questioning myself. I think it's the first time I've ever actually remembered the name of the character, and I'm like, there's no way I did.
Yeah.
I'm making it up.
And so they have to change this tire before the infected come and fucking destroy them, because the infected, they can get through windows.
Oh yeah.
This isn't your Walking Dead. Oh, touch the window. No, this is. Bam, 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 smash, smash, eating you.
So they start doing this tire like real fast. Frank, the dad, lifts
the
taxi with his arms to get it up high enough.
Yeah.
They rip the tire off. They're tying on. The infected are getting closer and closer.
Oh my god.
The gnarly snarls and the.
Yeah.
That's my zombie noise.
You would suck if you had to pretend to be a zombie.
Wait, I can do it. Give us yours. I bet you practiced that.
I did.
You wait for your opportunity. You wait for the call. Like when?
Scout me.
But yeah, they just about get the tire on in time, jump into the taxi as the zombie's almost about to grab them.
Yeah.
They head off. They book it.
They jump. And then
Very lucky.
They find like a supermarket.
A Budgeons.
A Budgeons. Is that still a thing?
I don't know if it is.
I feel like it's one of those things like, like Woolworths where it like went out of like business.
And no one noticed.
Yeah.
Oh, there's going to be someone who loved Woolworths being like, I noticed. It was real to me.
Yeah, budgeons, and they go shopping. There's always this fucking shopping scene in a zombie movie. That's why I think the zombies are such great like metaphors for consumerism.
There's always the abandoned like store shopping. But the thing is, because that's when you think of like any like abandoned world, that's one of the biggest dreams I think comes to most people's minds.
Just buying whatever they want.
Having things for free. Because at the end of the day, if there's anything in society that like we'd want of anything else, it's just like, you know, not having to pay for everything.
Yeah, you know, I mean, there's no, like, if you've got food scarcity and then you see a whole supermarket where you used to have to budget and think, what can I afford? What can I, you know what I mean? What small little bit of luxury can I bring into my life? Or can I feed myself this week? Or whatever your budget is, right? Yeah. And now it's the apocalypse. You can have whatever the fuck you want.
It's fulfilling that dream that I think, especially people living in a country that has a cost of living crisis.
Oh my God, yeah. So they load up the fucking cab. Like, the boot is hanging open. And then they drive off.
It's smart, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I will say, though, the fruit was all good.
No, there was a lot of rotten ones. It was just the apples that were good.
Oh, that's weird.
He took the green apples.
But they were, like, perfectly fine. I know it's only been 28 days, but, like, I was shocked.
Yeah.
Apples never last me more than, like, a week and a half, and they're just, like, starting to go soft.
GMO apples.
In this country? Maybe no. These are pre-Jamie Oliver apples. That's why.
Can't have good apples anymore. Jamie Oliver took them all. He also took your nuggets. There you go. Then they go to a petrol station. And so it's a petrol station, and there's like a big ass, like, you know those gasoline cars?
Gasoline truck.
Yeah. And so
they siphon the petrol out of it.
Frank is siphoning the petrol.
Selena's keeping watch. The daughter's staying in the taxi.
Yeah, she stays in the taxi. That's where she stays.
Jim realized he's useless and decided to wander off.
Yeah, she's like, stay in, because he sees a
burger like place.
Burger place. He says like last cheeseburgers in 60 miles or some shit, and she goes, "We have enough food," and he's like, "Yeah, but we don't have cheeseburgers." As a joke.
So stupid. He goes inside,
and then you know what you get for being curious, because he sees dead people and a dead baby,
and it's really dark. And then he calls out again. I don't know why he does this.
I think he did it on purpose this time. I think he did it to lure one out to see if he's, you know what I mean? Because he turns around straight away. He doesn't look shocked.
Do you think he wanted to try and kill one?
I think maybe.
Because he hadn't yet at that point.
No, he hadn't. An infected young boy like runs up and tries to kill him, and he like batters him.
Yeah, he throws the bat, and then it cuts to him leaving the burger joint,
wiping the bat.
Yeah, which you know what happened.
So Frank is like, "Oh, Hannah, bring the car around, right?" Because of course the cabbie taught his kid how to drive, which is so funny. And she's like fast and furiousing this fucking thing. She's like speeding towards him, like, Hannah, brake! And she just like pulls up, swerves into the thing, and she's smirking at him. And he frowns, he's like, out.
She had a Fast and Furious moment, didn't she?
She did. He was pissed. But he was like...
But it's relevant, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because she uses that little trick later on.
Yes, she does. They load up the car with gas canisters.
The point is they are set for life.
They really
with
are.
Their haul from the budgeons, with their haul from the petrol, they won't be needing anything for a while.
Yeah, they've got a pretty good, you know...
Which I think was pretty smart, because they pretty much, after this, cut to them practically just getting to Manchester. Which I think was good. They were like, oh, look, they've got everything they could possibly need. We don't need to show what happens in the next, like, few days of them driving. Yeah. Necessarily.
Apart from
a picnic.
Where they're like at this, like, church place?
It was, like, ruins.
Ruins?
Like, almost like castle ruins, it looked like.
Yeah.
Could have been, once a graveyard or a church.
Yeah.
Like, but ruins are, like, partial stone pieces.
And they have a picnic.
Which was... They see wild horses.
They do. They see lovely wild horses, and they say it's like a family. Do you think they're infected? No, they're just free. And it's like, oh. See, it's like...
You wish that was you, huh?
It's like there are parts of this movie which are so dark and horrible. You know, we just saw, like, a dead baby and an infected child, right? But then you see, like, wild animals are still free and roaming and not infected, you know?
Yeah.
And you see, like, them having a picnic, and they're having a good time and forming, like, a found family, you know, together. And you see what life is still worth living, you know? Yeah. And even Selena admits it. She says... I was wrong when I said survival was the best that you could get now. Look at Hannah and Frank. Like, they have each other, and that's okay. You know?
Yeah.
And then she kisses...
Or when they're having fun in budgeons.
Yeah.
She kisses Jim! Yes, she does. Jim. She kisses Jim.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was saying again about, like, zombie films. Like, community just is, like, the thing that people want the most. Yeah. And it really does sound like, you know, isolation is a bigger killer than starvation.
I think it is.
So she kisses them on the cheek, and then they all head to bed. And this is relevant because they struggle to sleep.
They do.
But then they wake up Selena, who's the only one who could sleep. Mind you, we find out it's because she has her hand firmly grasped around her machete.
Yeah, she's like,
She said, this is like her teddy. That's how she sleeps. And they're like, we can't sleep. She pulls out a bunch of pills. She has Valium. They're like, girl, what you doing? She's like, oh, I'm a registered chemist.
I'm a chemist.
So we find out she's a chemist.
Yeah.
It's relevant, and it's also like a good thing to know about her. Jim takes a Valium and he convinces Frank
to let
his daughter
Hannah have half
a Valium to get to sleep.
Yeah.
Then Jim has a nightmare, and this is a very sweet moment.
Yeah.
Because he wakes up and has a nightmare that they've all basically
abandoned him. Yeah. And then Frank comforts him and says, "You're just having a bad dream." And he goes, "Thanks, Dad," in his sleep. And my heart melted.
It was really sweet.
My heart melted. And then in the morning they wake him up with a car horn. He's like, "Did I miss breakfast?" And then he went, "Yep, you slept through it." And he literally is like grabbing his sleeping bag, is like running into the car.
But you could also see the little bit of panic in him because like when he woke up and they weren't lying right next to him, he thought, "Oh wait, they actually did leave me," and they were all just all happy. I'm like, "Get in the car, loser.
Yeah,
we're going shopping." No,
it's really sweet, and they're driving and they're having like a peaceful time. You know, they're doing their thing.
Yeah. So they are heading towards the blockade. They're just about a mile out from it, and they see essentially like welcome to Manchester type.
Yeah.
Area, and the camera pans back from the car, and you see Manchester in the horizon, and it's on fire.
An entire city is just on fire.
And it's like you can not only see flames, but little explosions happening.
Yeah.
Like it's apocalypse level, like exploded city.
It's scary.
City of flames, and they're heading towards it. All that smoke that they're heading towards. They arrive at the blockade. It looks abandoned. There's nobody there. Frank is having a moment. He's like, "And check all the vehicles, right?" Yeah.
Check all the vehicles.
There has to be something, he says. There's nothing. The vehicles look like they've stopped awkwardly.
Yeah.
There's things scattered as if like people have been run out. It's so disheartening.
And Frank, he loses it because do you know what? That's his plan. He's trying to make sure his daughter survives and, build a life or, something.
While he's having his moment, just to think and just like strop, this fucking annoying ass crow is squawk-a-walking at him from like above him.
Yeah.
It's so valid. Such a valid crash out. But like when you're so pissed off and it's just like a sound that just keeps going.
And he goes forward because the thing is the crow's looking at something. So he goes to check it out and he looks up to try and scare this crow away.
Yeah, to fuck off. This is the saddest part. He sees the body. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
But he sees the crow. Yeah. And he's so mad at it that he kicks the pole that the crow is standing on.
Yeah.
And the pole starts to shake from him kicking it, and it rattles free a drop of blood.
And lands in his eye.
And it lands straight in his eye. And he's obviously, when you get anything in your eye, he's like freaking out.
Yeah, and you can tell he's been infected because you know what? You can feel it.
Yeah. I think for the first moment, for like literally the first like 5 seconds, I don't think necessarily that's what he was thinking about. I think he was just instant, like something in my eye. Because his daughter comes over and he's like, "Oh, I can't fight, whatever." And then immediately it kicks in the reality of the situation.
Yeah. And he apologized. He's like, "I'm sorry for upsetting you.
Yeah, I love you.
I love you know
that I
very
love
much."
you.
And then she's like trying to come towards him, and he says, "Get away!" And he's being infected now.
He grabs her and he throws her as far away from him as he can.
Selena's holding Hannah back, and basically Jim has to kill Frank.
Yeah, and Frank turns and he starts getting aggressive.
And as Jim goes towards to kill Frank, now the fucking soldiers decide to turn up.
And they fill Frank's zombie body with bullets.
Yeah.
And by the way, they turn up like, some of them are like in camouflage in the bushes.
One of them was on top of something, so that means he must have been there for a while.
You had time to climb up, so they were watching. And they saw these people that were clearly human because they were there for more than 20 seconds.
They weren't doing infected people things.
No, in fact, they were crying. Who the fuck whinges that nobody's... Do you think infected turn up and like, "There's nobody here for me to kill. Shut up, crow."
Fuck off.
But essentially, they turn up and they rescue Jim, Selena, and Hannah.
Yeah.
They take them in the back of the little cruiser.
Yeah, they take the cab as well full of the supplies and stuff.
Yeah.
And they take them to this big ass like mansion that's been fortified.
Yeah. And they're like miking into someone in charge saying, "We've got 1 male and 2 females, etc., etc." And they meet the leader at the mansion.
Henry West.
Yeah, he seems nice. He's like, "You're safe now. We've got you."
Yeah. He's a bit weird though. He's their commanding officer. Essentially, it's a big ass mansion and it's got lawns on the front and they have rigged up loads of landmines, floodlights, is it electric fences? And I know they have barbed wire.
Yeah.
All kinds of shit. And they have obviously military personnel running around like...
They've got like very heavy duty like long distance like rattling guns at the top of the building, snipers, everything. Opulence. You own everything.
And they have food, and they have hot water.
Yes. So they get their hot water shower. Jim goes first, actually. We see him naked again, but for whatever reason. But in the middle of the shower, I think this is so important for me. He goes towards the bathroom window, and he looks out the front of the house, and he sees the soldiers who are playing with the taxi. They're just doing donuts and like bullying one of the kids. It seems sweet and innocent enough, but this scene made me really uncomfortable because it first established to me that these soldiers are incredibly immature boys, and they weren't acting in a professional manner.
No.
And that was such a major red flag to me.
Well, the other thing is that this isn't their property. This is Frank's cab. This is technically Hannah's cab now, you know?
Yeah.
And they've taken these people's cabs, they've taken the supplies off of it, not handling them very well at all, and they're doing donuts in someone else's car, who they're supposed to be protecting, and they're disrespecting their property, and it subconsciously tells you that these soldiers view themselves as above these civilians.
Yes. Jim essentially goes to talk to the leader, and he gives him a tour of the grounds. Now, this is important. That's when we find out they have all that stuff.
They have all that stuff.
But also we find out that they have a pet zombie.
They have chained up. So one of their own, a soldier, was infected.
And when he was infected, they managed to knock him out.
Yeah, they knock him out.
Put a chain around his neck.
And they leave him in the garden like a fucking dog.
Yeah.
And they say... And this is when you really get the creepy vibes from West. I'm gonna call him West because I feel like calling a military officer by their last name feels appropriate. I don't know. I don't know. Jim is saying, "Oh, what has he taught you then? Because you said that he was gonna like you're trying to study them and stuff."
Yeah.
And he says, "Well, he's taught me that he has no future. He's taught me that he will just eat and consume, and he is nothing. And then eventually he'll teach me how long it takes for him to starve to death."
Yeah. To clarify, he's referring to the pet zombie, obviously.
Yeah. And it's like, fair enough if you were like a scientist and you need to study how long it'll take you to die.
Yeah.
But the way he talks about this guy is kind of disgusting because he used to be a human being, you know?
Because, not even just a human being, he used to be one of his own.
Yeah.
And it's so different. Well, I'll say two things. One thing, on that note, like I agree with like the idea of keeping one and seeing how long it takes for it to stop. That's so smart. That's so necessary. Yes, good job. But again, the way he says it is so sinister and so disrespectful. And to me, it was such a parallel to Selena, who Selena is painted, I feel like in the beginning, to seem like she's merciless.
Yeah.
Or that she's like unkind and unfeeling.
Yeah.
But in fact...
It was just a hard exterior protecting her heart.
In fact, she was the opposite of this guy, in which she was brutal in the sense that when her friend was infected, she absolutely slaughtered him while he was still human. She killed her own friend. That was seen as like brutal from someone who seems like she's mean and like, you know, hard and heartless. When the fact is that was actually the true mercy. That was someone who was inside a good person and had a good heart.
Yeah.
Whereas this person
didn't want to see her friend turn into a monster.
Exactly. This person who is seen as a soldier, someone who is supposed to. Yeah. Let's agree that like soldiers almost never are, but are supposed to be shining lights, are supposed to be heroes,
protectors.
Are supposed to be protectors. These are the people that we think, these are the good people, right? Yeah. These are the good morale people.
That's what you're conditioned into thinking.
And this is how they treat their dead.
Yeah.
You know, this is how they treat their own infected. With such little respect, this taunting disrespect. And I get the idea that it's like, oh yes, that was my man, but it's not anymore. Now it's one of those foul monsters that like ruined, you know, our country.
Yeah.
But like, nah, mate. Red flag.
Yeah. Then they have dinner. One of the soldiers who runs around in a pink apron over his military gear the entire time.
Yeah, he's like the chef.
I think they call him Doris for some reason.
Well, for some reason, because they're a bunch of immature boys.
They're fucking misogynistic.
And they've like feminized him. Which again, okay, personally, I'm not reading into this too much, but it was alarming to me that they had picked a boy to feminize. Yeah. And not only was he the boy that they seemed to pick on the most, and he didn't seem to mind it, he was in on the banter, but they feminized this one boy, and to me already that said something unusual to me. And I even have it like timestamps almost in my notes that I thought this before anything else that happens.
Yeah.
But it made me feel like they were looking for something or trying to fill a position that they didn't currently have.
Yeah.
That they had this necessity for like a feminine presence or like a woman.
Well,
and they had to assign one of them to that position.
Well, that's the thing, is that because the guy in the apron, the cook, I'm not going to call him Doris.
We'll just call him the cook soldier.
Yeah. The cook soldier, he had attempted to make an omelette for everyone because the new people are here and he was trying to celebrate, right?
Yeah.
Trying to make them feel welcome. But the eggs were off, and he thought, I thought the salt would like cover the taste up. And the CEO, he's like, West is just like, take it away, it's disgusting. And then he says, I hope one of you can cook because we really need that kind of thing around
Yeah.
here, you know? So it's and the thing is that, like...
Referring specifically to the girls.
Yeah.
He was not looking at Jim.
He was not looking at Jim.
In fact, he was... the person who said it was mostly looking at Hannah.
Yeah.
The younger girl.
Creepy.
Which, again, I wrote that down too. Already, I was like, here we go. Because I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
When they were acting super immature, when I saw the apron and them feminizing one of the boys, I was waiting for it. And as soon as he asked that girl, I was like, here it goes. Here it fucking goes.
Yeah.
I hope you can cut. Here we go.
Yep. And it's like, it's a commentary on, like, you know, women's place in a society that's breaking down, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty boring dinner conversation besides that, to be honest.
Yeah. Although they have a discussion on basically normalcy and stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the soldiers thinks, oh, well, his name is Sergeant Farrell, and he is like, oh, well, humans have only been around for a blink of an eye, so if we all die, then technically the world's going back to normal.
Yeah.
And they, like, shit on Farrell, like, all the time.
Yeah.
Every time he says something, every time he does something that the CO doesn't like, he just, like, nah.
Even the man was straight poet. Because that line was everything.
Yeah.
For the majority of human history, humans have not been here. So if normalcy is, you know, what the most of something usually is like, we heading there. Someone else also puts forward that, I think it's West, who says that humanity to him has always just been
people killing people.
And so their current situation is no less normal than it was before.
Which is alarming, because it's like, you don't think there's, like, he's eerily calm about the apocalypse, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Eerily.
And then during dinner, the alarm goes off.
Yes, the infected come out. Then they start shooting the infected on the lawn.
The alarms go off.
Yeah.
All of the soldiers, we get to see, like, how they respond to this type of thing. They almost all look excited to go out there and kill these zombies.
They were laughing and chatting and stuff.
Landmines are going off, blowing up zombies.
Yeah.
They're shooting the Gatling guns. They're shooting the snipers, killing the zombies, doing a pretty amazing job of it.
They seem to get, like, a rush out of it, because when they come back, Selena's obviously, and all of the survivors are ready with their weapons, like, oh my god, do we need to fight? Like,
just in case the zombies somehow got through. Selena's holding a machete.
Yeah. So he's like, oh, you won't need this anymore, darling. I'll protect you now. He said it so menacingly.
What did he say when because he put it on his crotch and made the machete look like his penis?
He's like, oh, do you want a bigger one?
Yeah.
And he's, like, sexually harassing her, essentially.
Yeah, he grabs her.
She's trying to take it back, right?
The ally, what's his name?
Farrell, he's trying to stop it, and he's, like, trying to pull him off of him and stuff.
Yeah.
And then West comes in and is like, do you know, he breaks them up, right? And he essentially just sends off the rapist guard.
Yeah, he just sends him off, and then he somehow subtly punishes the ally who actually helps her by putting him on cleanup duty.
Yeah, he says, go clean the bodies off the lawn.
Yeah, which it was such a subtle way, because he sends other soldiers with him, so it wasn't a direct punishment, but it was an indirect way of saying, like, oh wait, the leader here doesn't disagree or properly discourage that kind of behavior.
Yeah, and he gives back a knife and he apologizes, but it's, like, so insincere. And Selena goes off. I can't fucking blame her. I wouldn't accept that apology either. Fucking hell. Yeah. So Jim is thinking, like, this isn't safe. Like, hey, look, if we're gonna stay here, like, if there needs to be something, like, boundaries or something.
Yeah, he's saying this to West.
Yeah, and West goes, well, I promised them women. Which is the most eerie fucking line in this movie. It's a very famous line as well. Because he was talking about... He essentially speaks about how women are the future in terms of, like, male satisfaction and procreation.
In fact, he references one of his soldiers that had a gun in his mouth.
Yeah.
Who was going to kill himself. And he said that he couldn't talk the soldier down from killing himself because there was nothing to give him worth living for.
I think that's why they abandoned the blockade and then took the mansion instead.
I think so.
Because he said... We took them here, and and I said, I promised them women.
Yeah. He said that that's why he put the announcement on the radio. He specifically says that he put that looping announcement on the radio in hopes of bringing women, because that's what he promised them. Yeah. Which is terrifying.
It's disgusting.
And you just feel so awful, because you've had this wonderful, like, 3-day journey of which obviously ended bitterly with Frank's dad dying, but you had the lovely moments at the picnic, them sleeping together, the nightmare moment, them at Budgeon's, like, shopping together, the fun they had driving over the blockade.
They're teasing each other. They're building this dynamic.
This wonderful dream to get to the end, to Manchester, and, like, save the day.
They're looking for safety. I mean, you grow up in the UK and you see ads for the army everywhere, and you get taught these guys are going to protect you, these guys are going to keep you safe. Obviously now we know it's not true, right? Yeah. But then the world ends, and who are you going to turn to? And the first thing people are going to think of is, Well, the government says they're here for me. Well, the soldiers say they're here for me because that's, you know what I mean? That's what you've been taught.
Yeah.
They have guns, they have, explosives, they have training.
They have survival training,
Yeah. They can help me, right? And you go to this supposed safe haven.
And then you find out that you've just delivered yourself to rapists.
Essentially, yeah.
You've just
delivered yourself to a trap.
You were like an object.
Yeah.
And that's all. They didn't want to help you. They didn't want to save you. They didn't want to do anything good for you.
No,
This like dream you had of like safety and like finally finding community.
Almost normalcy, you know?
And it was all fake. It was just a rape trap. That's just...
It's so fucked.
It's particularly, obviously, I mean, rape is rape, right? But it's particularly daunting when you think of Hannah obviously being a child.
Yeah.
That is quite scary, especially when you think about her dead father.
Yeah.
Which is very sad, and you think about his like hopes and wishes for her to be protected and be safe and get to the military, and he probably would have been over the moon to find out that she was with the military. And then,
do you think that they killed Frank? Oh, they let Frank die, get infected, so that they could essentially have only.
That was what I thought. That I didn't want to say earlier to spoil anything.
Yeah.
I thought that they genuinely were waiting for one man to go down or to remove him themselves, but they thought he kind of removed himself. You know.
Mm. So that then they essentially have free reign.
Because they didn't want to take on any other men, you know?
Yeah. It's hard. It's the thing is we try and make an entertaining podcast, but there are only so many... You can't joke about everything, I don't think.
No, you can't.
And some things... You know what? This is a bleak movie. For most of it, you have hope and stuff in it, but there is... Do you know what I mean? It's about society breaking down. Of course it's going to be dark. Oh, it's horror, fucking hell.
And I will say, and I don't consider this a spoiler at all, but obviously this plot line of like women being assaulted in a zombie apocalypse or any kind of apocalyptic film isn't new, and it's used a lot, and it's used for a reason because, you know, authenticity. But what I liked about this film is it doesn't actually show the women ever to a full extent being attacked, because they're not.
Yeah.
And then that I was grateful for, because you can still have the implication that there are people like this that exist and they would do these things to women.
And it's just as terrifying.
And it's just as scary.
Yeah, if not more so when you don't have to show it, you know.
Without, you know, you don't have to, one, show it happening, or two, you don't even have to put the characters through it. But, you know, because I think that you can get across pointing out how dangerous, you know, certain types of men can be without having to put female characters constantly through that thing. Yeah. Because, you know, at the end of the day, like...
Unless it's central to the story, or you can... Like, if you can't... There are very few plot lines I think you have to justify, but I think the sexual assault is one of them. If you can replace it with anything else, replace it.
Yeah. But I like that, because I was really worried that we were going to have to witness that or hear about that happening, and the fact that they never actually get assaulted.
Yeah.
I really commend that. And I was just as scared the whole time, you know?
Yeah.
Wes does offer him, he says, you can join us, but you essentially have to give up the women and understand that we're their places, essentially. Yeah. But he refuses, obviously, because Jim's an ally.
Because he's an ally! Jim's such a goat, man. I fucking love Jim. He gets knocked out, and so does Pharrell, because he attempts to help him. Then he wakes up chained to a radiator with the Sergeant Pharrell, and Pharrell is like rambling. He's essentially saying the world's gone mad, the CO is going crazy, and this and this and this and that. They're both led out into the woods, and they're about to be shot by that rapey guard.
Yeah, in fact, not even shot, because the rapey guard decides
to stick him with the bayonet.
With the bayonet on the end of the gun, and the cook soldier is behind him saying, why don't you just shoot him? Like just put him out of his misery, like, you know, instead of like killing him slowly. Yeah. He says, no, I'm going to stab him. So the cook chef shoots Pharrell instead. Yeah, he tries to shoot Pharrell instead so that he doesn't suffer, I'm assuming. Yeah, because he shoots Pharrell. Yeah. But the sound of the gun was right next to the rapey guard's ear, so like the sound like also just absolutely like irritated him. And so he got aggressive in the cook guard, and then while they're fighting, Jim takes the opportunity to run. He hides amongst a pile of dead bodies. He does, yes, because they take them to this place where apparently they must have been fucking ritually executing people, or maybe they take the bodies from the lawn here, or something, because there's a shit ton of bodies in these woods. Well, see, here's the thing, like I really wanted clarification of this, because I did think, because the fact that Wes clarifies that he put that signal out there to get them women, and that's the only reason he put the signal out there. It did make me think, is this the zombies from the lawn, which I think it probably most likely was, or is this just a bunch of fucking men that had come before that they had looking no interest for help, and because how did they have the signal out and there is no one there except the soldiers? There is no other person that has come to this place. They are the first. Really, they're the only people who had a handheld radio. Well, I think, I mean, they said they've been there for, is it 9 days they said they were there? So I think
especially if Manchester's on fire, then I think a lot of people would have come there. But
Yeah.
I don't know how many of them would have been women, you know?
Yeah, but that's the thing, I thought, like, had men turn up before and they would, like, had no interest in
It's that
an
and
extra mouth to feed.
is that and all the bodies of the infected that come in the night and they just dump them all in the same place.
So,
Mass grave.
don't necessarily know. I assume maybe it's probably just the zombies, like mass grave, but it would be, wouldn't surprise me if
Jim
it was
hides
ladder.
amongst the bodies, and then when he gets the opportunity, he runs away. There's a big chase. Yeah.
He jumps a wall, a really tall one with barbed wire that rips his shirt off as he lands.
He gets snagged on it. I don't know how he gets his cuffs off though.
So yeah, he after falling off the wall, he lands on the ground and he sees the plane.
And it's like a glimpse of hope, which I really appreciate.
And I think it sparks something in him.
Yeah.
And I will say the next place he heads to is the military blockade.
The abandoned one from before.
Maybe he does find keys or something there to undo his handcuffs.
Yeah, fair enough.
Can't remember. Or maybe it happens before this and we just forgot. Okay, so I doubt it's a plot hole.
Yeah. Then it cuts back to the women, Selena and Hannah. They're obviously very upset because Jim has been fucking gone.
And also they've just found out that they're lambs to slaughter.
Yeah. And West basically tells them to dress up nice.
Yeah, he says there's a bunch of clothes from the lady of the manor that doesn't need them anymore.
Yeah. And they're put into a room, and essentially I think Selena's top is taken from her because she's in her bra.
Yeah, they're trying to undress her basically to put her in this dress.
And Selena has to kiss a guard and tell them, hey, can you leave a room so I can be alone with Hannah and make her, make us calm.
She plays into it like, a lot of women have to.
Yeah. And she says, look, it's only polite, you have to,
So, the soldier agrees, he'll leave and let her get pretty for him.
Yeah.
And while he's gone, she quickly grabs her bag of medicine.
And she gives some Valium to Hannah.
Yeah, and Hannah says, you trying to kill me? And she says, no, I'm just trying to make you not care.
It's really heartbreaking. Because obviously she wants the best for Hannah and she wants to look after her. And at one point when she's crying and when Hannah's crying and missing her dad in the very beginning of when they got to this place, she says, I don't want Hannah to cope. I want Hannah to be okay. And so it's really hard to watch, her basically drug this child.
Because she knows what's coming.
And the soldiers come in because they've been listening in on this conversation and try and stop her.
Yeah, they take the drugs away, but Hannah's already taken them. Selena hasn't, but yeah.
Then it's later on and it starts to rain. Both women are in dresses. And Jim sets an alarm off at the blockade.
Oh, can I just say, by the way, the rapey one?
Yeah.
Sorry, this is retcon. It's going back, but the rapey one, he just said something disgusting that I just wanted to mention. When he's leading Jim to the slaughter, he says,
"Oh yeah."
He says, "I'm gonna have the black one.
I'm gonna make her squirm."
And I'm gonna make her squirm. Oh, context, by the way, Selena is a black woman.
Yeah.
I would never mention that because it's not relevant, but until this moment, I guess.
Yeah. Sorry, can you say it
he
again?
says he's gonna make her squirm. He says, "I'm gonna have the black one." And I'm gonna make her squirm. That's what he says to Jim, and that was like the line. The line was crossed now. We know, it was beyond like, oh, we're gonna try and swoon these women and like try to get something out of them. No, this is like, okay, this is objectively just danger, and set me in panic mode. But yeah.
So Jim sets the alarm off at the blockade. It's now raining, and he does this to attract the soldiers. It's two soldiers that go. I think it's West himself.
Yeah.
And one of his men, and essentially he stealth kills the other guy.
Yeah.
And the alarm also attracts some infected, which distracts West enough to where Jim can essentially get to the mansion before he gets back. And
then he takes the gun that he got from the guard he killed.
Yeah.
And he shoots the chain that was holding the pet zombie in the garden.
Yeah, he lets him loose.
In their house, essentially.
And it's almost human in a way. When he looks up at Jim, he snarls and then he runs off. Like it's like a communication they have.
Like he understands.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe it's... The thing is, they call it the rage virus, right? And it makes you really angry, and that's why you're going around killing people and infecting them, right?
Yeah.
Maybe if you've been chained up, as a zombie, or you have bad experiences as a zombie, that would affect who you go to kill for.
I think also this zombies story is like obviously, and I sound like I'm in like film class grasping straws, but like is parallel to Jim's story as well. Because they both essentially are given the same burden of like, you've got no future, you've got no etc. And certain like disrespect that they both experience from Wes. And it's almost like this is Wes's moment where he's having his little Die Hard moment where he's like flipping from what he used to be, which was like weak and like telling Selena to wait for him, to like now
he has to save Selena.
absolutely controlling the situation and saving Selena, and his zombie's having its moment of like retribution as well.
Yeah, where he's killing the guards who chained
And that's
him
what
up.
that like understanding and that communication, I feel like it's this like understanding that they're both getting retribution.
Yeah. It's a scary and badass sequence at the same time.
Yeah.
There's rain going on. It's very dark. Again, the digital like cinematography is just working overtime. Hannah is like high as shit. Like she's zonked out of her fucking head. They're both in these like red dresses. They're sitting on the sofa and like basically being guarded, waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, but they're waiting for Wes to get back.
Yeah, and
for permission.
Hannah she's like fucking making like psychic predictions.
She's
fuck.
she's high as fuck.
She's like, you're gonna die, like he's gonna kill you, like you're not gonna make it.
Do you think they're not gonna come back? If they don't come back, will you be in charge? She's really getting in their heads.
Yeah.
But she doesn't care anymore. She's so detached from emotion, which is exactly what Selena, was hoping for.
Yeah. So obviously the infected guy's running around doing shit, and
he attacks someone else.
Yeah, and so 2 of the guards run off, leaving 2 of them with the girls.
Yeah.
And Hannah runs off while the other ones try and hold Selena back from running after her.
Yeah, and a zombie kills one of them.
Yeah, the zombie kills one of them. So Hannah and Selena have been split up.
Yeah.
And Selena is with a guard and Hannah is on her own.
And the zombie goes after the cook soldier.
Yeah.
Who runs into the kitchen and hides in a cupboard.
Yeah.
And he stays there for a moment. That's a little important later.
Yeah.
The zombie keeps attacking. One of the soldiers comes into the kitchen to essentially see what's going on. And I enjoyed this kill. It was one of my favorites in the film, so I want to talk about it. But he goes into the kitchen to attack the zombie who's in there going crazy. And he's like, let's have it then with his gun. But then the other zombie, who is now created from the attacked soldier upstairs, attacks him from behind. And we see him on the kitchen table being gouged and attacked by 2 different zombies, and he was screaming like a little girl. like genuinely, like it sounded like someone who was being attacked by 2 people.
Wow.
It was just so funny to me that he was like, help me. Cook soldier is in the cupboard watching this happen, and then he sees the zombies leave, so he waits a beat, and then he himself escapes and tries to run into the foyer.
And Jim is there.
Yeah.
And stabs the shit out of him. He's like very cold looking when he does it as well. It's very like he's got his resolve. He's not like hesitating anymore.
Yeah.
He's completely transformed.
It's also interesting because it's the same soldier who earlier on shot the ally because he didn't want him to have to be bayoneted to death.
Yeah.
He had the heart to say, like, why don't we just shoot him and put him out of his misery? Why would we bayonet him?
And now
he's been bayoneted by
But also
Jeff.
I think it's
Jim.
I think it's also kind of an exchange of mercy, right? Because he obviously the cook soldier could have just shot the rapey soldier, right? He could have. But in this situation he wasn't going to do that. So he could let the soldier stab Pharrell, or he could shoot him and take him out himself and put him out of his misery, right?
And he shot him.
And he shot him. And so I think it's a kind of exchange of mercy, because Jim could let this soldier run away and get eaten by infected and become an infected, or he could stab him in the same way he could have let the other guy
I see. So you think killing him and not letting him become a monster or be attacked by the monster was mercy?
I guess so.
Because it's essentially the mercy he learned from Selena.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I don't think that cook soldier would have been competent enough to fight back, if that makes sense. He's not going to run around killing infected on his own. He's not going to side with Jim and Selena and Hannah. When West comes back, which he does soon, he's going to go back to his daddy, isn't he?
And do you think he gets that mercy? Because I do agree with you that I think it's a form of mercy. Do you think he gets that mercy because he was technically besides the ally who ends up dying and getting shot, one of the only semi-redeemable ones? Because not only was he clearly an outcast from the other boys, and he was the one that was feminized.
I mean, they differentiate him with clothing and everything.
Yeah, and we never actually see him objectively do anything to the women himself, right?
Yeah.
Just following with the boys around him. And then the only time we really see him display morality is when he offers the soldier mercy and shoots him, because he doesn't want him to be stabbed to death, because he knows it will be slow and painful. Do you think that his death being so different, is far less violent and in a sense merciful compared to the other characters, was because he was the one redeemable outsider of the soldiers?
I think to an extent, yes. But I would also say his complicity in the soldier's actions means he still has to die, you know?
Oh, of course, and that's why he dies.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like a kind of thing where you have to, like, he's being punished for the sin of doing nothing.
Yeah.
Let's say he does let this soldier go, right?
Yeah.
then he's just going to become another infected who's also going to be a problem for him.
Yeah.
So he's either a problem as a soldier or he's a problem as an infected. And either way, he's a problem, but maybe not of his own will, but he is still a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, Wes comes back.
Wes comes back. He sees what's going on. He's like, what the fuck? And then we cuts to Hannah, who is hiding in a bathroom away from...
She's looking at a family photo.
Yeah. She found her clothes.
Yeah.
And she's hiding in the bathroom away from a soldier zombie who is, like, lurking around.
But then the soldier zombie finds the room she's in.
Yeah.
And you think he's going to get her, but then she's not in the room anymore. She disappeared.
Yeah. She's really good at hiding.
She really is. Because we find out that she's hiding behind the mirror.
Oh, that's so good.
There's a full-length mirror in the bathroom, and she's clinging onto the back of it. I cannot, like, there's nowhere to cling. I don't know how she's doing this. She's keeping her feet off of the ground, and she's keeping her fingers hidden from the sides. And the zombie sees the mirror and is walking closer to it, just looking at his own reflection.
Because he thinks, oh, is this me or is this like another zombie? It's
like,
it's like a cat or a dog.
Genuinely. Which, they are quite animalistic, so it makes sense. But she's just hiding behind there, sweating, obviously. And eventually the zombie leaves.
Oh, God. In a dress, too. Like, that dress looked heavy.
Oh, yeah, and it was big. How's not puffing out the sides? And currently Selena is being held by the rapiest soldier up in the bedroom. And not that he's there to rape her, but he has just sort of like...
That's just how it ends up.
Yeah, gone up there to escape the zombies. And Jim is currently up in the loft above the rooms, and he's listening, and he can sort of see through the floorboards and stuff because it's not an incredibly well-kept house, although it's quite nice.
Yeah. No, but Jim is looking for the girls, right? So he doesn't know exactly where Selena is, right? He's looking around this house, and he goes into this room, and he, like, barricades it a little bit, and he sees a wounded soldier in there, and the only thing I can think of is, that guy on TikTok goes, I need more bullets. I need more bullets, because he's like, I don't have any bullets, please don't leave me. And Jim, he just fucks off out the window.
Of course he does. Fuck the soldier.
Fuck that soldier. He need more bullets. I need more bullets.
I ain't got any bullets.
I need more bullets.
He said the fuck? I went out the window. But yeah, he's in the loft now, and he's above Selena, and he hears her.
Yeah.
And that's when the rapey soldier has Selena, and he decides he's going to attack her. Jim, who's up in the loft, hears this, and he jumps down behind the rapey soldier. The rapey soldier doesn't realize because he's caught up in Selena. Jim grabs the rapey soldier. There's a kerfuffle back and forth, and then Jim smashes the rapey soldier's head into the wall. It hits it over and over and over again. It's very animalistic.
Brutal.
They then fall onto the ground, and Jim digs his thumbs into the eyes of the rapey soldier.
So fucking cool.
And they're so deep in there. They are. And this kill is so animalistic that Selena, who is behind him, picks up her machete because she thinks that he may be infected. Yeah. That's how animalistic this kill was. And he stands up and he turns to face her after killing the rapey soldier. And they have a look, and then he steps towards her, and Selena raises her machete.
Yeah.
And she sees his eyes and realizes he's not infected.
And he says, that was longer than a heartbeat.
Which was an adorable reference back to when she said that she would kill him.
In a heartbeat.
If
he was infected. Very cute. And they kiss. And then
they make out.
They make out.
Until eventually Hannah comes in and hits Jim on the back of the head.
So I thought she was biting you.
Yeah, I thought he was infected. I thought he was biting you.
Oh my God.
That's what she thought the making out was. Oh my God.
She's so fucking zonked.
She really was.
Like, oh my God.
She was lit.
Yeah. So they run to the cab, and Henry's in the fucking cab.
Yes.
West is in the cab.
Sorry. Oh, Henry West.
Henry West, sorry.
Yes. So they try to run out, obviously, in the cab, and as they open the door, West is waiting in there. What a pussy. And he shoots Jim with, like...
a gun.
Yeah, but it wasn't like a weird gun.
I don't know. I just couldn't see.
Oh, it was like a weird gun. But anyway, the point is it's a gun. A gun is a gun, girl.
Jim gets shot, and then Hannah,
on her drugs,
jumps into the driver's seat, right? Because Jim, obviously fucking that... Sorry, no offense, but, like, didn't West come across as a little, like...
gay?
Yeah.
I did also kind of get that vibe, but let's not just call every terrible man gay.
No, we shouldn't. Anyway, of course that little bitch was waiting in the back seat, so... Hannah, the fucking alpha she is, jumps in the front.
Mind you, it's a taxi, so there's a separation between the front and back, so it's not like West can do anything about her being in the front.
And she just reverses the car into the doorway of the house. Doorway. And you know the chained zombie? He was waiting there.
Like he's waiting for my Uber Eats, pretending I don't see the driver. He was waiting there, and he
smashes through the back of the cab.
Picks up his food, snatches West out of the back of the cab.
And then she just drives forward.
Yeah, and then she goes and picks up Jim and Selena.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I dropped him off. We can go now.
Yeah.
I hope he tips.
But remember to rate me 5 stars. And obviously Jim's wounded and he's like goes unconscious. There's a couple flashes.
There's a shot, a final shot of the mansion that shows the chain zombie after killing West and the others leaving, and he has this sort of growl and this moment of, again, retribution. It's like, look what I did.
Yeah.
That's a future. Not that he's necessarily saying or even thinking that, but that is what the message I'm gaining from the shot. And then we get into those flashes of Jim being taken to like a hospital bed by Selena, and she's doing first aid on him. Yeah,
she's like, stay alive, stay alive. And then we get another 28 Days Later title card.
Yeah.
And now Jim is happy. Selena is sewing something, and Hannah is out in the garden like doing something with a sheet. Yeah. And we're like, what they're doing, right? And then Hannah runs inside and goes, look, it's coming. And they all run out with the sheets. And they have they had sewn cloth like letters, and it says hello, and they're waiting for the plane to pass by
so that they see the message.
And they look happy.
We'll say one thing that I thought was very interesting that they did is during the flashes before we see Jim wake up happy and healthy, one of the flashes showed a field and it just said the word hell on it.
Oh.
Which obviously when you see that you think like, oh, negative connotations immediately, right?
Yeah.
You just think that he's in a bad place, etc. But then obviously eventually we find out that the hell was just the first part of what would eventually become the word hello. That they've spelt on the field for the plane to see. And they jump up and down like they're waving. In like an early 2000s like CBeebies exercise with me video.
They have a lovely like cottage now. It's like, oh, that's cute.
Really cute.
Yeah. And then the movie ends.
Yeah, and it's a happy ending.
Definitely.
To some extent.
We've
been through a lot.
They have, but you know what? They have each other, and that's enough.
Thank you for being a friend.
I gave this a 3.5 out of 5.
Really?
Because the thing is I would give it a 4. I would. But there are little things about it that, like, I think it's still a great, tense movie. I love it a lot. But in my head, I just can't give it a 4, even though I really want to, because there are little things that, like, nitpick at me, okay? So let me just go over what I liked first. Mm-hmm. It's a great film. It's really intense. Like, even on second watch, I was scared. Love the cinematography, and I love the choice to be digital. I liked most of the editing, but there was a few, like, cuts in it that I thought didn't work out really well. Like, when they before the 28 Days Later thing, second one comes up, it like crashes the cab again, and there's like a freeze frame, and they look like stupid.
Oh, I like that frame.
Oh, I don't. And there are a few like shots and like choices in the edit I don't like.
See, the only shot I can think of I didn't like is there's this one shot of a field of flowers at one point.
Yeah, where did that come from?
It was really bad. Like I don't know if it's just like I wasn't getting it.
Yeah. But
it was like so grainy, and the flowers looked really glitchy and grainy. I don't know if it was supposed to be like footage from like the outside of a rainy window or what, but it was like an establishing shot of them driving down the street of like next to a field of flowers, and it just looked trash, bro.
And then I think most of the acting was also very good, apart from the daughter.
I liked the costumes as well.
Oh, yeah, the costumes were fine. The daughter.
No, I'm sorry. Selena's costume was great.
Yeah, hers was. Yeah, in the beginning, yeah. I liked most of the acting. I just found there were certain actors that didn't do as well as others, especially the daughter. And because she's supposed to be like one of the 4 main characters, I would count her as at least a main, you know. And she's completely monotone throughout the whole movie. There's a bit where she gets shot. When Frank gets shot, she goes, "Dad," and you literally laughed because it was that bad. And I just felt like if you're gonna have an actor, especially a child actor, be such a big integral part of your movie, they should be really good. There's like a lot of things which has to be emotional here, and her face and her voice just don't do it.
For me.
And I think the thing is that like there's also a couple like extra like things, like small things that will just pushes it down from a 4 that it should be to a 3.5 is what I believe.
For me, I know you always like have a thing with child actors. For me, I always overlook it because it's so rare that a child actor is good. I won't say when a child actor is bad because it's so often bad, but I will say when a child actor is good. That's kind of always been my kind of thing.
Fair enough.
For me, I give it a 4 out of 5. I think even there's a few things that could be better, there's so much that is great about it that I can keep it at a 4. I mean, absolutely love the tone throughout the film. I think so well done. Obviously, everything with the camera, etc. A lot of the shots are really breathtaking and like put me in such a mental state that just allows the story to play out so incredibly well. And it does so much that hadn't necessarily been done like that before. I loved a lot of the scenes with the zombies were really, really well done. As someone who doesn't typically like every zombie film or like isn't like the hugest zombie fan, I loved some of the like scenes with zombies in the film, genuinely frightening and scary. Like I love the church scene, as I said earlier, when he says hello and two of the zombies or three, like whatever, snap their heads up and their faces, like the mouth agape. It's something so uncanny about it. I love the scene of the zombies chasing them up the stairwell. That, you know, that heart racing feeling of this like impending like doom coming up the stairs, and the panic of it, which you also get later on with the tire changing scene. The scenes are so effective. And the zombies, because like obviously you've got terrifying zombies in certain films that are like super fast and super aggressive, but it's not just the zombies that were scary, because even the most scariest zombies don't always like get me like that. It's the way that the zombie scenes are played out, the way that they're written and shown just make me so scared. And for me, I'm just like, that's so respectable. And so yeah, there's some things like the shot of the flowers I didn't like, and maybe a little bit of the story could have moved slightly different, but I still have to give it a 4.
Fair enough.
Also, it didn't feel nowhere as long as it is. Like it felt so fast paced. For me, it felt like an hour. Like genuinely, like it felt so short. Because I kept entertained the whole time. Yeah. So I gave it a 4 because of that. Yeah, I think they were like some of the scariest zombie scenes I've ever seen. Zombies like some never scare me, but like genuinely, some of those scenes I was like just anticipation. Just oh, I mean it was so fun because we sat here on the couch watching it with Andrew, obviously, and the way that we were all on the edge of our seats, especially on that like car. The tire changing scene, God, that was I don't know. I love a film where I could sit with friends and like we're all just like on the edge of our seats, like holding hands, fucking like kumbaya, like terrified. Yeah, that's my review of it.
That's fair enough. I think it's weird because I love it, and I know you can't really objectively define a film's worth and stuff like that. Like using a numerical system is so stupid, and we do it, just for fun, right?
Yeah.
And I do love the movie. I guess it's this film school part of me that's just like, no, But tell us, what did you think of 28 Days Later? Have you seen it? Will you be watching 28 Years Later when it comes out in cinema?
I hope you do.
You should.
Please do. Follow us on everywhere right now. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Well, we won't even mention the Twitter that we don't use because we're probably going to delete it.
We're probably going to delete
Blue
it.
Sky or something, I don't know.
We don't know. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
Please, if you're watching on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel. And if you're watching on any other platform, please follow and rate our podcast.
Yeah, tell us what we can do better.
Yes. And
be as mean as possible.
Be nice to me, though. Be nice to me, though.
Okay. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.